All right. Hey guys, it's me, Mrs. Fordyce. So I am ready to teach you on the internet. Isn't this amazing? It's the wave of the future. So take out your notes. It should say Unit 3 Guided Notes Day 1 on there. And let's get this party started. Okay, so let's make babies. Kind of, but not really. So you see here, we've got Tyra Banks, and if she got together with Albert Einstein, their baby would be looking so yucky. That's their baby. This is their baby here. You can see the light eyes. Does it look like the baby is smizing? So we know that when a male sperm and a female egg come together, they are going to share genetic information and a baby will be made. Now, what happens when sperm meets egg is that you get traits. And these are the things that you inherit from your mom or your dad. So it could be something like hair color, could be eye color, could be height, could be that you really like spicy things. Those are distinguishing characteristics that you've inherited from your family. Those are traits. So there you have some examples. Now, there's a study called genetics, and genetics is a type of science that studies biological inheritance. So that's like how do you inherit traits? Genetics, that's the study of it. So who can we thank for this whole thing of genetics? Who we can thank is this dude named Gregor Mendel. So he lived back in the day in about the 1800s. He was a monk. You know, a monk is the kind of like, it's a guy that, like a nun kind of. He devoted his life to the church. He would live a very simple life. And he studied peas. So peas as in those green vegetables that maybe you love or probably hate to eat. So I don't know if you know, but there's a couple different kinds of peas. They could be yellow, they could be green, they could be round, they could be wrinkly, and they have different colored flowers. So Mendel had this garden, and he studied the peas, and he kept really good notes, because that's what scientists do, is they take really good notes. So basically, he was like the very first person to start in on this whole genetics thing. He also, this is something super important, he recognized that traits were inherited as units, meaning they're inherited separately. They are not, that's why we don't look just like our brother or our sister, and we're not a carbon copy of our mom and our dad. The traits were inherited separately. Me and my sisters, we all have brown eyes and brown hair, but I'm the tallest. One has really small feet. One has bigger feet. So our traits were inherited separately, even though we're sisters. He also is kind of one of the ones that was like, hey, I bet if we really tried, we could sort of have an idea of what a person or an organism would look like if we bred it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. Okay, so he made 3 key choices that shaped his findings. Most definitely, this is on the test. Number 1, he controlled breeding. What does that mean? It means that the peas weren't allowed to find the hottest pea and hook up and make pea babies. That's not how it works. So basically, he would in his garden, he had all of the white flower peas. You can see here, over here in this corner. So some peas had white flowers and some peas have purple flowers. So he only used purebred plants. So he controlled the breeding where he decided which pea to mate with which pea. And you can do that with plants. And he only used purebred plants. He knew for sure that they were a purebred plant. He observed either or traits. What does that mean? It means that there's nothing in the middle. For example, flower color. It's either white or purple. Pea shape. It's either wrinkled or round. Color. It's either yellow or green. So there's not really like a lot in between there. Okay, so you need to listen to a song now. So hopefully I'm not going to have some technical difficulties, and we'll figure that out. Okay, hopefully I figured out the song. If not, go ahead and skip it. So, after Mendel crossed the plants, he came up with a couple of really important things, and they are that, number one, traits are inherited as discrete units. So remember I talked about that. We don't inherit all of the traits at the same time. We inherit them all differently. Now, the second two conclusions make up Mendel's first law, or law of segregation. Test alert. This is on the test. So, he is the one that figured out that organisms inherit 2 copies of each gene, one from each parent. Actually, nobody knew that yet. They didn't know that for every single trait, we have a gene from our mom and one from our dad for the same exact trait. For example, eye color. We have one from our mom, one from our dad, and then it's going to depend on which one we have based on which one is dominant and which one is recessive, which I'll talk about in a couple slides. Now, he also got that organisms only donate 1 copy of each gene. Okay, so didn't I just say 2 copies? Yeah. We, thinking you have 2 copies of each gene for example, eye color. But you only got 1 from your mom and 1 from your dad, and that makes the 2. So the 2 copies of each gene, they're going to separate. All right, next slide. Genes, not genes. Haha, I'm so funny. So, Mendel's discrete units were actually what we now call genes. So, genes are our DNA. That is what makes us us. Actually, they have decided, in science, they're trying to figure out every single solitary possible gene in human DNA. It's a humongo project. It's called the Human Genome Project. Genome refers to all of an organism's genetic material. All of an organism's genetic material. Can you read that? Okay. Now, each gene has a specific locus or location. So, I kind of think of that like an address. Like where you live, like whatever your address is. So, if this is a chromosome here, there's going to be a specific gene, like here, for example, let's say that's eye color. So this is going to be the eye color gene. This is where they know to look for it. They can do so much these days in terms of medical stuff that they can look at the DNA of a person and they can see, do they have a gene? For example, they totally use this with breast cancer. So Angelina Jolie, I don't know if you remember in the news a little while back that she had a mastectomy, which means she surgically removed her breast tissue. And the reason she did is because she had a test. And the scientists looked at her genes under a super duper microscope. They looked at the address, the locus of the gene for breast cancer on her chromosomes. They found it. So basically they knew that it was a very high chance that she could have breast cancer, and she decided to go ahead and remove her breast tissue, and that would reduce significantly, if not, I think maybe all the way, her risk of cancer. So that. Now, these are two things you're totally going to need to know forever and ever, amen, in science. It's genotype versus phenotype. So, genotype is is the genetic representation of a gene. When we talk about how something looks is when we use the term phenotype. Here you can see this would be the genotype. It's the chromosome. Phenotype, this little disgusting guy right here, phenotype would be brown fur. So here is the genotype for brown fur. It's on the gene. It's telling the gene to look like that. And then here we have the phenotype, as in I can see with my eyes the brown fur. I like to remember this as P for physical. That's how I sort of remember it, physical. See how phenotype starts, man, it's hard to write with this thing. See how phenotype starts with a P and physical starts with a P? That's how I remember it. Hopefully that will help you too. So, genes, they can exist in many forms. Now, genes are called alleles. I know that's kind of a weird new word, alleles. That's how you say it. So, your cells have two alleles for each gene, one on each of your chromosomes. And not just chromosome, but homologous. Remember, homo means same in science. Homologous chromosomes. So here we see again, homo means same. So alleles are basically going to be letters, and the letters are going to represent a gene. For example, if we have a B, let's say this is going to represent the gene for eye color. So we could have homologous chromosomes, which would be, for example, two big B's. If we have another type of homologous would be two little b's, because they are the same, either both capital or both lowercase. Homo means same. Also, we also have ones, and they're called heterozygous. In science, hetero means different. So in this case, we would have big B, little b. Hetero means different. So even though they're the same letter, different as in one is capital, one is lowercase. Now, they are either going to be dominant or recessive. So that is something that is going to be important to know. So here they are either going to be dominant. Oh, sorry, I hope it didn't make you dizzy. They're either going to be dominant or recessive. Why do I say dominant like that? Super annoying, right? But it's going to help you remember. Dominant means expressed. If there is a dominant student in a classroom, they are expressing themselves. They're probably raising their hand. Well, hopefully they're raising their hand. They have a lot to say. They've got comments. You know they're there, right? So that's like in a classroom. That would be the dominant student, for example. Recessive. Well, this is interesting because it means they're there, but they're not expressed. So in the classroom example, could you use that with like a really super duper shy student? Like one that's actually super afraid to talk in class. They're there, but they're not expressed. So dominant, recessive. This guy right here, this big B, we always say the capital letters are the dominant. Dominant, big B. Little b, recessive. All right, let's keep talking about that. So, what's the point of all this? The point is it's amazing because we can predict the outcome of genetic crosses. So there's another scientist guy that made up this thing called a Punnett square. So he basically made a system for figuring out what the genotypes of an offspring were. So we're going to practice Punnett squares in a minute. So you can see here that this Punnett square here that I'm like looking at right now, So it started with big R for flower. That's red. Then we had big W for white flower. So when you put them together, you put one of the first parent here, the second letter from the parent there, and then there and there. So we're going to do some practices. A practice. Okay, I think there's a spot for this on your notes. So first of all, if I'm going to make a Punnett square, I'm going to draw a square like so and like so. So you guys know what I look like. Yep. Okay, so I have brown eyes. But remember I shared with you that my mom has blue eyes? So here is what my allele looks like for eye color. I have a big B and a little b. The little b I got from my mom. The big B I got from my dad. How do I know I got a little b from my mom? Because she has blue eyes. And we know in science, we know that blue eyes is a recessive trait, meaning if there is a capital letter, a dominant trait attached to the recessive trait, then we know that the dominant trait is going to be expressed. The recessive, the little b, it's there. It's just not expressed. So here, and then, okay, so let's do my my sister and her husband. Remember I showed you the picture of Winslow, the cutest baby ever? So my sister Rachel, this is her genotype, and her husband has blue eyes. So in science, we know that since he has blue eyes, he's going to have two little b's because they are recessive. So I'm going to set up my Punnett square. I'm going to put Rachel on top, and I'm going to put Justin, her husband, on the side. So how we make a Punnett square is that we're going to see if these two get together, big B, little b. What color eyes? Brown? That's right. If these two get together, little b, little b. What color eyes? Remember that if it's two little b's, the only possibility is going to be blue eyes. Now this one and this one. Big B, little b. Brown eyes. This one and this one. Little b, little b. So hopefully you know that that is a 50-50 chance for having blue eyes. And Mr. Winslow, he's so cute, he has blue eyes. Like that either. Okay, let's look at this. How to read a Punnett square. So if we're looking here at the Punnett square, how many of the outcomes are homozygous? Any? No homozygous. 0. How many are heterozygous? 1, 2, 3, 4 heterozygous. How many have a dominant allele? 1, 2, 3, 4. See how they all have a capital B? That's dominant. And none of them are showing up recessive. So we would have 4 out of 4 for brown eyes. There is a 100% chance of brown eyes in this offspring. We show that with a ratio. That's a math thing. 0 represents the amount of blue eyes, and 4 represents the brown eyes. Now, if you cross two heterozygous alleles, heterozygous, here we have, hetero means different, big B, little b. So this is a heterozygous being crossed with a homozygous. This hopefully looks very familiar because it's Mr. Winslow, right? This is my sister. This was like my sister and Justin. This is the same Punnett square we just did, where we said that there was a 50-50 chance of brown eyes and blue eyes. Oh, just to remind you, this is Mr. Winslow. He's so cute. And just for you, this is my husband and this is me. So my husband has a really similar look to my brother-in-law, Mr. Winslow's dad. So there's a pretty good chance that if we had a baby, it would be blonde and blue-eyed too. Now, this is kicking it up a notch. I think that's what Emerald says, right? On the Food Network. Bam! Kick it up a notch. This is called a dihybrid cross. Di, and in science, remember what di means? Is that, what'd you say, two? That's right. Di means two. Now, a dihybrid cross examines the inheritance of two different traits. So, for example, we're going to look at the most disgusting animal ever, which, by the way, I'm very allergic to, the disgusting guinea pig. So, we're looking at guinea pigs, and we're going to notice, we're going to see this Punnett square here is going to code for different traits. So, we're looking at these 4 different phenotypes. As you can see, we've got short hair black, we've got long hair black, we've got short hair brown, and long hair brown. So if we put together all of the genes, don't let this stress you out. I know it looks really crazy, but it's basically you need to know that it is a more, it is for genes that are inherited, it's called polygenic, that are inherited together. They think that height is actually a polygenic trait. All right, moving on. And we're donezo. So, what you should do, now, here's a message from me. Don't stress out. If you missed a couple blanks, don't worry about it. I want you to still, you do what you can. If you think you missed it, go back, watch it again, rewind me. But here's something you need to do in order to get full credit for this unit. Are you ready? You need to email me. You know my email, right? I'm not going to put it on this because it's on YouTube. I want you to email me the secret password. All you have to do is the secret password. This is the secret password for today. This is how you'll get credit, because this is how I know you watched the video and you didn't just copy this while you're waiting for class to start. Secret password is gummy bears. All you need to do is send me an email with the word gummy bears in it. That is how you will earn full credit. Very important. All right, friends. See you next time. Hope you have a great day. Bye.